Dr. Jason Fung. The food we eat determines whether we store body fat or build muscle.
The whole premise of this sort of a calories is a calories idea is that, if you eat 100 calories of cookies and 100 calories of, say, an egg, well, they're going to be equally fattening. Okay. But that's garbage. It's not even true in any sense, because the problem is when you take that food, like you take a cookie and put it in your mouth, and you take that egg and you put it in your mouth, the minute you put it in, the hormonal response of our body responds to that food completely differently if it's cookies, like carbohydrates, or egg, which is fat and protein.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different response from a hormonal standpoint. Therefore, the instructions that we are giving to our body from those foods is completely different. So, for example, you eat a cookie, the hormone insulin spikes way up. Okay, and what insulin does is it tells our body to please store body fat. Store those calories as body fat. That's its job. That's insulin's job, is to tell our body to do that. So when you eat the cookie, insulin spikes up, all of that 100 calories goes straight into our fat. You eat that egg, of course, insulin does not spike up nearly as high, and therefore our body can use that energy. He'll use it for different things. He'll use it to build muscle. He'll use it to, burn off, because it's not about the number of calories. Because your body, when the calories goes in, can either store it or it can burn it. But which one it does depends on the instructions that we give our body, which are different according to the different foods. So, when people say a calorie is a calorie, it's like, of course a calorie is a calorie, but I never asked you that question. I never said, is a calorie a calorie? It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
saying a dog is a dog. It's like, so what? That's a nonsensical statement. The question I really want to know is, are all calories equally fattening? And that is not true.
So you take 100 calories of a big gulp. Well, the effect on our body is different. One, it's going to spike insulin. It's going to go into our fat stores. It's going to store that energy, but it's not going to make you full, right? So if you eat an egg or a little piece of meat, it will make you full. So therefore, the effect on the number of calories coming in is totally different. The effect on our bodies, whether we store it or not, is completely different. And therefore, what we have to focus on is not the number of calories, because we know that's a strategy that has failed, like not just once, but it's failed over and over and over and over. What we have to do is concentrate on a strategy that is going to tell our body to use up some of those calories that we've stored, which is just body fat. Right? And there's a number of ways that you can do that. You can change either, really only one of two things. You either change the types of food that you eat, basically the question of what to eat, or you change how often you eat, which is a question of when you eat, right? And that's where intermittent fasting comes up. Because if you simply reduce the number of times you eat in a day, well, that's going to change everything, because by not eating, you're going to let your insulin levels drop. As your insulin levels drop, your body's actually going to pull those calories out of storage and use them, because that's what the body does.
It's a discredited premise. A calorie is a calorie. That says if you eat a 100-calorie cookie or eat a 100-calorie egg, they are equally fattening. Dr. Fung tells us that is not true in any sense. Our body's hormonal response to those foods is completely different. If we eat a cookie, which is carbohydrates, or if we eat an egg, which is fat and protein, the instructions to our body is completely different for each. For example, if we eat a cookie, which is carbs, insulin spikes up and tells our body, store those calories as body fat. Or if we eat an egg, which is fat and protein, insulin does not spike up, so our body can use that energy to build muscle or simply burn it off. It is not the number of calories. The body can either store or burn what we eat, according to the instructions, which differ according to the food we eat. Are all calories equally fattening? That is not true. If you take 100 calories of carbs, say a big gulp, ice cream, a cookie, what happens? Insulin will spike. It will store as body fat, and it will not make you feel full. If you eat an egg or some meat, it will make you feel full. So, the effect on the number of calories coming into the body is different, and whether we store body fat is different. Focusing on the number of calories is a strategy that has failed. What we need is a strategy that tells our body to use up some of the calories, body fat, that are stored. A better strategy? Change what you eat and or change how often you eat. For example, intermittent fasting. Simply reduce the number of times you eat. Remember, eating carbs does not make you feel full. Eating fat and protein does make you feel full. It is much easier to intermittent fast. During the time you are not eating, insulin will drop and your body will pull calories out of storage, which is body fat.